I never expected to be voted out of my own family. But that's exactly what happened last summer on a hot August afternoon, with the smell of barbecue still clinging to the air like a ghost. It started when my sister Emma decided to organize a family reunion. She hadn't done anything remotely family-oriented in years, but suddenly she was sending out long-winded group emails, assigning people to bring side dishes, making spreadsheets for games and lodging. It felt forced, but I stayed quiet. I've learned not to question anything too directly in my family. Then came the talk of money. My dad, Richard, has always made it clear he's the provider. He throws money at situations instead of emotions. Growing up, I learned to interpret checks as apologies and silence as disappointment. So when Emma casually mentioned in the family chat that Dad was generously fronting $7,000 to cover the event expenses, I knew there'd be strings attached. I replied to the thread, suggesting that maybe we don't need to spend that much, especially since some of us, me included, weren't doing great financially. I thought I was being practical. Turns out I was being ungrateful. The next day I got a phone call. Dad never calls, he texts or gets Emma to relay things like we're in some sort of twisted monarchy. He didn't waste time. "We took a vote," he said, calm and cold. "You're not invited." I laughed because I thought he was joking. "I'm serious," he continued. "You always have something to say. You question everything. So we decided, we'd rather not have your energy there. And since you won't be attending, don't expect my $7,000 to come your way for anything. You're on your own." I sat in silence. Not because I didn't have words, but because I had too many. They all collided in my throat like a traffic jam of grief, anger, and disbelief. I asked him, "What do you mean by we? Who voted?" He didn't hesitate. "Me, Emma, your brother Nate, even Aunt Clara. Unanimous." I felt like I'd been voted off an island I didn't even want to be on, but it still hurt to be exiled. The thing is, I wasn't angry about the money. I was angry that no one defended me. Not even Nate, who once cried on my couch during his divorce while I fed his dog and covered his rent. I didn't go to the reunion. I watched the pictures get uploaded to Facebook, the curated smiles, the matching t-shirts that said Family First 2024, the toasts. No one mentioned me. It was like I'd never existed. But here's the twist: 3 months later, Emma called me in tears. Turns out the Airbnb Dad booked got cancelled last minute, and no one could get their money back. The catering van broke down. Nate's kids got hand, foot, and mouth disease. Half the family ended up staying at a hotel an hour away. She wanted to rebuild our connection. Said she missed me. I told her I hoped she'd taken a vote before calling me. I didn't hang up. I just let the silence say everything I needed to say. A few weeks passed after Emma's call and I didn't reach back. I wasn't trying to be petty, I just didn't know how to talk to people who could throw me away so easily. People who took a vote instead of just having a conversation. But silence has a strange power. It makes people uncomfortable. And when people are uncomfortable, they start to unravel. One night, I got a message from Nate. Just a simple, "Hey, can we talk?" Against my better judgment, I said sure. He showed up the next day looking like he hadn't slept much. His hoodie was inside out. That used to be our little signal in high school that something was wrong. He didn't waste time either. "I didn't vote," he said, sitting on the edge of my couch like it might bite him. I stared at him. "What do you mean you didn't vote? Dad said it was unanimous." Nate let out a bitter laugh. "He said we should vote." Emma agreed with him right away. Aunt Clara followed. I said I didn't think it was a good idea. Then Dad said, "I'll take that as a yes." I didn't even know how to respond to that. The fact that my own father had twisted a non-answer into a weapon to exile me, it was disgusting. "He railroaded everyone," Nate continued. "Even Mom. She wanted to call you but said Dad told her not to escalate things." I felt my jaw clench. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because I should have done something," he said. "And because Emma's pregnant." That made me blink. "What does that have to do with me?" "She wants you to be godparent." I laughed. I couldn't help it. A sharp, dry laugh that felt like it cut something in me on the way out. Godparent? Me? After she blacklisted me from the family picnic and let Dad pretend I was some kind of threat. "I know," Nate said quickly. "It's messed up. But she said she's changed. That seeing how things fell apart without you made her realize what you actually held together." Now that pissed me off. The idea that I was only valued in my absence. That I was the emotional glue for people who never wanted to admit I mattered. "I'm not a second-choice glue stick," I said. "I'm not some patch for their broken little family bubble. I've been alone for months, wondering what the hell I did wrong, and now I'm supposed to help raise a kid, Nate looked down at his hands. I think they're trying. In their messed up way. Trying is what you do before you destroy something, I said. He left not long after. No big goodbye. Just a quiet, heavy exit. Later that night I got a voicemail from my mom. Her voice was shaky. I don't know if you'll listen to this, she said, but I miss you. Your father, he doesn't know how to apologize. And well, maybe I don't either. But I wanted you to know that I never voted. Not really. I just stayed quiet. And I'm sorry for that. There was a long pause before she added, you didn't deserve any of it. I played it twice. Then I deleted it. Not because I didn't care, but because I needed to start writing my own version of this story. One where I wasn't always the villain or the fix. One where I wasn't just tolerated, but chosen. After Mom's voicemail, something in me cracked. Not shattered, just cracked enough to let light in. I didn't call her back. But I started thinking about what forgiveness actually looks like when the people asking for it never learn how to say the words out loud. A week later I got a letter in the mail. Not a bill, not a flyer, an actual letter. It was from Aunt Clara. The one who always brought dry deviled eggs to family events and bragged about her Facebook influencing, because she had 2,000 friends. Inside was one of those blank greeting cards that people use when they don't know what to say, so they let the flowers on the front do the talking. She'd written in shaky cursive. I went along with your father because I didn't want to rock the boat. But I realized I let the boat sink instead. I should have spoken up. You always made our gatherings feel like more than just obligations. I'm sorry I forgot that. I didn't cry. I thought I would. But instead I felt this strange, quiet sadness. The kind you feel when someone finally admits what you always knew, but says it 10 miles too late. I put the card in a drawer. I didn't throw it out, but I didn't display it either. That felt symbolic of everything, still holding on but not quite ready to forgive. Then came Dad. He showed up at my apartment unannounced, like some character in a drama who thinks he's got the emotional high ground because he finally decided to make an appearance. He didn't even knock properly. Just one short tap like it was my job to know he was there. I opened the door, leaned against the frame. You lost. He didn't smirk. Didn't posture. Just stood there in a navy jacket he probably bought to look casual but rich. I owe you more than an apology, he said. That caught me off guard. Richard Holloway doesn't do humility. He does power moves. Statements. Checkbooks. I told myself I was protecting the family by excluding you, he continued. But really I was punishing you for not being like me. I didn't say anything. I didn't like the way you questioned things. The way you challenged me. It made me feel small. So I made you smaller. There it was. The quiet truth that had always hummed under the surface. That my exile wasn't about a reunion or $7,000, it was about control. I stepped back and let him in. Not because I'd forgiven him, but because I wanted to hear the whole story from the mouth of the man who'd built our family like a business. He sat down, awkwardly. Like the furniture wasn't made for someone who'd spent decades sitting above people, not next to them. You're not the failure, he said. I was just afraid you'd see me for mine. I sat across from him and asked, so now what? He looked at me with the tired eyes of a man who'd run out of defenses. I don't know. I'm here to ask what you want. And for the first time in years I realized I had an answer. I stared at him. My father. This man who once ruled every room like he was owed the air in it. Now he was asking me what I wanted, like I hadn't spent my entire life shrinking to fit the outlines he drew. I didn't rush my answer. I want you to stop thinking everything can be fixed with a check, I said. I want honesty without guilt, conversations without power plays, and family that feels like home, not a hierarchy. He nodded slowly. That's fair. But I also want space, I added. I don't trust this yet. You showing up here doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't undo the silence, the vote, or how fast everyone turned on me. His jaw twitched, but he didn't argue. I continued, I don't hate you. But I don't know how to need you anymore either. He nodded again. Then stood up, carefully, like the floor might fall out from under him. I'll wait, he said. For as long as you need. And if you don't call, I'll understand. He left quietly. No big scene. No dramatic final line. Just a door opening and closing like the softest question. Is this how it begins again? I didn't cry. But I did sit there in the stillness afterward, feeling the gravity of being the one in control for once. Not angry. Not begging. Just still. The next few weeks were strange. Emma sent me a photo of the baby onesie she bought, white with little green stars. A caption underneath. I still hope you'll meet her. We'll wait. No pressure. Mom sent me a lemon pound cake wrapped in foil, no note. Just like old times. I cut one slice and put the rest in the freezer. Nate started texting me dumb memes again like nothing had happened. I didn't know if I should be annoyed or comforted. So I let them sit unread for a while. Then one night I pulled out my calendar and circled a date. Just a week from now. No birthdays, no anniversaries. Just a random Saturday. I texted them all the same thing. I'll be home that weekend. Not for a reunion. Just dinner. Casual. Bring nothing but yourselves. I didn't know if they'd all come. I didn't even know if I wanted them all to. But I knew I had to try, for myself. Because sometimes the only way to heal isn't by going back to how things were. It's by deciding how they'll be from now on. The Saturday I chose arrived with the kind of quiet that felt deliberate, like the universe was holding its breath to see if I'd flinch. I cleaned my place. Nothing fancy, just enough to make it feel lived in, not staged. I made spaghetti, salad, and garlic bread. No Pinterest-worthy tablescape. Just real food and a table big enough for 5. They showed up one by one. Nate was first. He brought beer and didn't make eye contact for the first 5 minutes, just stood in the kitchen complimenting the garlic bread like it was an apology. I let him. Then Mom walked in holding a little bouquet of wildflowers like she just grabbed something on instinct. She smiled nervously, kissed my cheek and said, "Smells like high school in here." I almost laughed. Emma came next, her baby bump barely noticeable under a big hoodie. She looked tired. Not the kind of tired you fix with sleep, the kind you carry in your spine. Her hug was hesitant, like she was bracing for rejection. I gave her one anyway. Dad came last. He was early but waited outside until exactly 6 o'clock. When I opened the door, he looked me dead in the eye and said, "Thanks for the invitation. Not thanks for having me, thanks for choosing to let me in." Subtle. But I heard it. Dinner was weird. Not bad, just quiet. Everyone was too polite. Too careful. It felt like we were all trying to avoid stepping on a landmine, except no one remembered where we buried them. Halfway through the meal, I cleared my throat and said, "We don't have to talk about it tonight. But eventually I'd like to. All of it." Emma set down her fork. "Can I say something now?" I nodded. "I was cruel," she said, looking right at me. "Not just about the reunion, about everything. I let Dad control the room because it was easier than standing next to you. I knew if I defended you, I'd lose his approval. And I didn't want to lose my place." She paused, then said the part one didn't expect. "But you were never the problem. You were just the mirror. And none of us liked what we saw." Mom put her hand over Emma's. Nate wiped his face with his sleeve and mumbled, "Same. All of that. Me too." I looked at Dad. He met my eyes and said, "I'm not good at this. But I'm here. And I'll keep showing up if you'll let me." It wasn't a group hug moment. No one cried into napkins or gave a toast. But it was real. After dinner we sat in the living room. Talked about nothing. Old shows. Bad fashion choices. The way the dog we had when I was 10 used to chase shadows like they owed him money. Before they left, Emma hugged me again. This time tighter. "You still thinking about the godparent thing?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. But before she walked out the door I said, "Let's talk about it. Next time." It's been 8 months since that dinner. Nothing dramatic happened after. No explosions, no screaming matches, no grand declarations. Just a slow rebuild. Awkward at times. Honest more often than not. We talk now. Not every day but enough. Emma had the baby, a girl. Lila June. She sent me a picture the morning she was born. No caption. Just a tiny hand gripping her finger. I cried in my car before work and didn't tell anyone. She asked again about the godparent thing. I said yes. Not because I forgot everything that happened, but because I finally understood that boundaries and love can exist at the same table. That forgiveness doesn't mean pretending something never happened. It means deciding what you'll carry forward and what you'll leave behind. Nate comes over sometimes just to sit in silence. I think we both like it better than forced conversation. He brings snacks and plays with my cat. It's unspoken, but I think it's his way of saying, "I've got you now." Mom's been softer lately. She writes real letters again. Short ones with little updates and pressed flowers taped inside. She never mentions Dad unless I bring him up, which I appreciate. And Dad? He doesn't try to fix things anymore. He just listens. He showed up to Lila's naming ceremony and stood in the back, watching me give a little speech I didn't know I had in me. He clapped like everyone else. Didn't try to take over. Didn't ask for credit. Afterward, as everyone mingled, he came up and said, "You're a better version of what I always wanted to be." Then he left. No fanfare. Just truth. I still keep that first voicemail from Mom saved in an archive. Not to dwell on it, but as a reminder of where we were and how far we've come. Sometimes people ask me about my family. I usually smile and say, it's complicated, but getting better. Because that's the truth. We're not perfect. We're still learning. But this time we're doing it together. And no one's taking a vote on that. Lila turned 6 last weekend. Emma threw a small party in her backyard. Nothing over the top, just bubbles, cupcakes, sidewalk chalk, and a bunch of kids running around in superhero capes and glitter shoes. The kind of chaos that feels like joy wearing sneakers. I got there early to help blow up balloons. She ran up to me wearing a paper crown made of construction paper and crooked tape. "You're late," she declared with a grin. "I'm 10 minutes early," I laughed. "Your birthday late," she said like it was obvious. "That's a different clock." I don't remember what I got her, some art kit with stamps and googly eyes. But she opened it like it was treasure. Hugged me like she didn't know there was ever a time I wasn't around. It hit me then, how much had changed. How much I had changed. Dad was there too. He sat in a lawn chair under the shade, holding a juice box and watching Lila like she was a miracle he couldn't quite explain. He's quieter now. Less about presence, more about presence of mind. We nod more than we speak, but sometimes that feels enough. Mom brought her pound cake again, same recipe. Nate showed up in a ridiculous birthday hat and made balloon animals no one asked for. Emma looked tired in a happy way, like the kind of tired that comes from giving love instead of fighting for approval. As the sun dipped, Lila came over, frosting on her cheeks, and asked, "Were you always here? Like when I was a baby?" I knelt down. "Not always. But I got here as soon as I could." She considered that. "Good," she said. "Because you're my favorite grown-up." That one got me. Later, when the party was winding down, Emma sat beside me on the porch steps. "She doesn't know," she said quietly. "About the reunion. About everything that happened before." "She doesn't need to," I said. Emma nodded. "But I think, someday I'll tell her. Not the ugly parts. Just the part about how families can break. And fix. And break again. And still be worth showing up for." We watched Lila chase fireflies in the growing dark, laughing like it was her full-time job. And in that moment I realized something. The old story was over. Not erased, not rewritten, just complete. This was the sequel. And I was finally in the right chapter. Years later I still think about that reunion. The votes, the exile, the painful silence. It's one of those memories that doesn't fade, but it also doesn't haunt me the way it once did. I don't need to be the person I was before. The one who kept every broken piece of us thinking I could fix it all. I'm someone new now. Someone who understands that healing doesn't require fixing everything. Sometimes, it's just about being there, not as the savior but as the person who's willing to stay. I visit the family more often now. Not out of obligation but because I want to. We laugh more than we argue. We share more than we hide. And when we talk about the past, it's not with shame or regret. It's with the knowledge that we survived it. Lila's old enough to ask more questions now. Not just about the present but about the past. About the times when I wasn't there, when the family wasn't whole. I answer her honestly, in a way she can understand. I tell her that families are messy. That they break sometimes. But if you're lucky you find your way back to each other. Not because you're perfect, but because you're still trying. I haven't gotten a call from Dad in a while. And I'm okay with that. He's still showing up, just in quieter ways. Every now and then he'll text me a joke or drop by with some useless tool he thinks I'll need one day. And I don't resent it anymore. It's his way of saying, I'm here. I think we've all finally learned what it means to show up without trying to control everything. To love without keeping score. To forgive not because we've forgotten, but because we've chosen to move forward with the scars. And when the family comes together now, whether it's for a birthday, a holiday, or just because we don't take a vote. We just come.